Hello everyone, I'm Jeff Standley with Standley and Crafted, and today I'm going to be going over the M12 Wax from All Seasons Wax. Alright, so as you saw me mention in a couple videos ago, we got in the new All Seasons Wax. I've got all forms of it, and in today's video I'm going to be going over kind of a quick overview of the M12 and show you kind of the first off testing that I've been doing with this wax. And if you're unfamiliar with All Seasons Wax, it's a wax out of Australia. They make a bunch of different kinds, and we just started selling it here in the United States. And of course, if you haven't been over to the website, definitely jump over to DIY Candle Supply. Check out all the waxes that I've got listed on the website. We've got their M12 Wax, which is a coconut and soy kind of blend with another additive in it to get that extra strong hot throw from it. We've got the bee soy wax on there. We've got the cocoa soy wax on there. And then we've got their A27, which is meant for melts and tarts. And then we've also got their pure soy S100. So definitely jump over there. There's a wax for pretty much all applications. But today we're going to be testing out the M12. Now the M12, I don't know if you can see it right here, but it is in brick form. A little bit more solid. It's obviously meant for containers, and it's definitely their leading wax if you're going to go to pretty much any of the waxes if you're going towards container candles. Now I've been testing this for about the last week. I've got a couple candles here. I poured one in the Lumen Vogue, and then I poured one in the 9-ounce Stanley Collection tin. So what I'm going to do is show you kind of the quick video clips that I shot of this stuff, and then once I show you those video clips, I'm going to come back and talk about this a little bit more.
Alright, so today I'm going to be doing the M12. We're going to test this one out. I went ahead and pulled a sample of the M12 out of the packages so I could melt it down at home. For the two vessels, I'm going to be using the Lumen Vogues. I already know how these perform. I know what kind of wicks go into these, so that's the reason I'm using those. We're going to be using the LCS 40 and the LCS 45. And the reason I'm using those two is I already know what wicks work pretty well for a couple different waxes in the Lumen Vogues, but I haven't used the M12 in quite some time, so I know it's going to be probably within these two wicks. So I went ahead and just pulled these two. Otherwise I would do the wickless method if I didn't know. And then I went ahead and stuck 2 wicks down into each of these. And then we're going to go ahead and melt this down and pour it. All right, so for this one we're going to be using I've got 8% of Midwest Fragrance Bourbon Butterscotch. This stuff smells amazing. I've got 1.7 ounces in that. It's going to be going into 22 ounces of wax. And if you haven't seen the consistency of this stuff, it's really nice. Cuts extremely easy. It's got a really nice, and you can see the edges of that when I touch it. I mean, it's definitely soft, so you're gonna get some good glass adhesion with that one, but it's hard enough to keep its shape, which is really nice. So I've got that stuff melting behind me. We'll go ahead and pour it in a second. All right, so I went ahead and pulled the wax. It's right around or in between 180 and 185. And I'm going to go ahead and add the oil. Let this cool down for just a little bit. I probably added the oil right around like in between 175 and 180. And then we're going to go ahead and pour these. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and let those sit for the next couple hours. I'm going to go ahead and place the wicks, and then we'll look and see how they do as far as cooling and the tops. Alright, so it's been about 2 hours, just over 2 hours since we poured those. Looking pretty good across the top. you can see a little bit of cracking around the wick right there. And that is only because it's actually a pretty cold day outside today. I don't know the exact temperature, but it's been raining all day long, so these are cooling a little bit quicker than they normally would. But let's go ahead and pop those wicks and we'll look at it. So there we are right there. Then of course, once those completely cool down, here in another couple hours, we'll clip those wicks and then run a heat gun over that to smooth those out. But looking pretty good so far.
All right, so that's pretty much it with that one. Like I said, this video is going to be just a quick overview. I'm still doing a lot of testing on this one. I've got more vessels poured upstairs with the 45s, the 40s, and the 50s. And then, of course, the metal tin, I only poured this first one, but I'm going to be doing, I think I'm going to switch over to 2 wicks in this one. I think I'm going to switch over to either the 2 LCS 40s or the 2 LCS 45s. Now, with this one, I'm going to try to get it up to the camera right there. This one, I put in just a single LCS 80, which did pretty well, but if you look at the corners right there, or the edges, you can see that it almost hits the edge. This is only about 2 burns in, so that's actually not horrible, but there's a little bit of a buildup there. And the reason I think I'm gonna move to 2 wicks in this one is, and I think the reason I'm gonna move to this one is the LCS 80 does work really well in this one, and I think as it burns down, and I'm gonna continue to test this one, and I'll put it in the second video, as it continues to burn down, probably about halfway through, I think the LCS 80 is going to catch the edges of this one and burn perfectly fine. For me, I think the LCS for me burned just a little bit too high. The flame was just a little bit too big. It wasn't out of the ordinary for a candle like this or a wick like this. I just like a smaller flame and actually a little bit longer burn time from 2 smaller wicks in this one. So I think that's exactly what I'm going to do in this one. But again, like I said, I don't think you can go wrong with a single LCS 80 in this one. And I will go through and test a bunch of different wicks. I've got everything kind of in my shop right now. I've got CD wicks, CDN, HTP, I've got Ecos, I've got LX, and I think a couple more out there. But tested the LCS wicks because I have them right on hand. So I'm going to go through, test a bunch of different wicks in this one just to see if there's any particular wicks that do burn a little bit better in the M12. But for me, so far, the burning in this stuff is going extremely well. It's a single pour wax, which is probably the nicest thing about this one. When I poured these things, and I'll show you in the videos, I had a little bit of a dip in the middle, but that's nothing more than just a really wide jar. If you get a little bit more of a narrow jar, say like a jelly jar or the 9-ounce straight jars, you're probably not going to get too much dipping in those at all. Especially with me working with 6006 for so long, which you know I like. I've done dozens of videos on 6006. You know I like that wax, but this is absolutely going to be taking the place of the 6006 for me, just because it's so easy to pour. I don't have to deal with the nightmare of sinkholes that 6006 brings with it. And then of course the smooth finish on this one, which is one of the reasons I never stuck with Soy 464, is the finish on those just always looks terrible for me. And this one, let's see if I can get in there just a little bit more. If you can see the finish on that one, I mean, even the finish after burning on that one is still smooth and even all the way across. There's no pitting, there's no cracking, there's really no imperfections left after the burn. And of course, after the burn, I really don't care what it looks like. The wax is going to do what the wax is going to do. But when you pour a candle, you definitely want it, or at least I like for it to look as smooth as possible across the top. And this stuff definitely does that. Now for the lumens that I've got right here, let's see if I can get that one in just a little bit there. You can see the 2 different ledges right there. So you've got the edge right around there. That's probably the 2nd burn, and then that inner edge right there, that's the 3rd going on 4th burn right there. And I let these go for probably about 3 to 3.5 hours each burn. I'm on the 4th one now. And of course, I'm gonna let that one continue to burn. I'd say probably the perfect wick in the lumen, if you're going for the lumens, is the LCS 45, which is what this is, and the LCS 50. The only difference between the two is the LCS 50 is gonna burn just a little bit hotter. The flames are gonna be a little bit taller, perfectly normal. But the 45 is gonna burn a little bit softer. So you will get some of that buildup around the edges right there, like I was just showing you. But as you burn the candle more and more down the vessel, it's going to catch up, or at least that's what I'm hoping I'm going to do. Like I said, this is the very first test on this one. I'm going to continue to burn this throughout the week and do a follow-up video on this one, just to make sure that the LCS 45s are going to work the way that I think they're going to work in this one. But with this one, I already know the LCS 50s are going to work perfect with this one. And just like in the metal tin, I'm going to go through and I'm going to test all the different wicks in this same vessel and a bunch of different vessels too. But since I've got these on hand, I'm going to go through, I'm going to test the HTPs, the CDs, the CDNs, the Ecos and the LX, everything that I've got here, and try to narrow those down a little bit more for people who are using like the Aura type vessel, the Lumen vessel, basically all the same ones. And as you can see in this one, and I've heard a few people say that they like to do single wicks in the Aura, the single LCS 80 is going to work perfect in this one. It's the exact same diameter as the metal tin. But like I was saying with the metal vessel, I actually like the flames that come from two smaller wicks than I do with a single larger wick. And again, personal preference, there's really no wrong way to do that one. Single wick or double wick, they both work really well. But for me personally, like I said, I just like the smaller flames from the two LCS 45s. And then also for me, I felt like I got a little bit more of a hot throw from the dual wicks than I did from the single wicks. And that could be just my testing. I tested these days apart from each other. So of course I'm going to go through and relight those because they're the same diameter. They probably should throw just the same. But I definitely felt like I got a little bit stronger hot throw in the double wick. But again, that could be just me thinking that. But of course that brings us to the most important point of this wax, and how is the hot throw. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I've been using 6006 for the longest time. I really like it. It's got an amazing hot throw. The cold throw is really nice. But like I said, you've got to deal with the nightmares of sinkholes that 6006 brings with it. So when I first started testing the M12, that obviously was the main thing I wanted to get to, was the hot throw. And I got to say, the hot throw in this stuff is absolutely incredible. I would definitely put it on par with the 6006. And of course, that's going to be dependent on your wicks and of course your oils. Certain oils just don't work with certain waxes. But with this one, I was using Midwest Fragrance Company Bourbon Butterscotch, which throws extremely well. And doing my initial testing with this one, within the first hour to hour and a half, you could smell it throughout the entire upstairs. And 2.5 to 3 hours in, the entire house smelled like bourbon butterscotch. The hot throw was absolutely amazing. But like I said, I just started testing with this stuff. I've only been probably 2 burns into the metal one, and I'm on the 4th one in the Lumen, so I'm going to continue to go through those. This, again, I just meant this to be a quick video, first initial thoughts, impressions on what I'm doing so far with the M12, and I got to say right out of the bat, this stuff is absolutely incredible. I tested it probably a year and a half ago, and I really liked it, so I was really anxious to test it again now that we've actually got it in stock and on the website. So definitely liking it so far. I'm going to be making a follow-up video with the M12. So if you've got any questions about stuff that I didn't cover in this one, which is a ton because I just started testing this one, if you've got any questions on the M12 or fragrances or wicks, vessel sizes, anything like that, please let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll go through and try to update and add that stuff to the second video. And of course, for anybody that wants to test the M12, I've got M12 testing kits on the website, DIYcandlesupply.com. Go over there, go to the shop section, and I'll put it on here. It's under the DIY kit section, and it comes with a bag of the M12. It comes with 3 of the lumens. It comes with 2 different oils, or 3 different oils on that one, 2 on the metal tins, and it comes with the LCS 45s, the LCS 50s, and the LCS 80s, so that you guys can test whichever wick that you want to in those vessels. And I wanted to put that kit together so that people could test it and not have to go through a bunch of different stuff and trial and error. This kit is basically all put together. It's the wax, the vessel, and the wicks and the oils to make everything work from the very first pour. And then of course that'll give you a good impression on whether or not you want to test the wax further than that. But that's pretty much it with this one. I've got all the links to the vessels, the wicks, and the wax down in the video description down below. So definitely jump over there. If you have used the M12, please let me know what you think of it in the comment section down below, and we'll see you in the next video.